Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. We're focused on talking to food and beverage brands that are on a mission to make the world better.
Welcome to the Firebelly Social Show. I'm your host, Duncan Alney here, where we speak to leading entrepreneurs, founders, and CEOs of mission-driven beverage and food brands. And this episode is brought to you by Firebelly. And Firebelly, we make brands more likable and profitable through social media marketing. In fact, that is all we do, 100% social media marketing. So we're definitely a part of a small breed of unicorns. Firebelly's been voted one of the top 10 social media agencies by Clutch, currently number one. Firebelly's helped clients like Netflix, Qdoba, Fiji Water, and many other brands you'd know transform their social media marketing. If you want to talk more, make your brand more likable and profitable, let's talk. Firebellymarketing.com. All right, so I'm so excited today to have a very successful founder here, but also one who is an immigrant. So it's amazing for me. So from BeatBox Beverages, let's bring in Aimy Steadman, who founded the company with some partners, and they set out to create the world's finest portable party punch, and have now evolved into $1 million company with distribution at Walmart, 7-Eleven, Kroger's, and so many other places. They've been on Shark Tank and Forbes. I mean, she's been on Shark Tank and Forbes. So, I mean, hey, Aimy, I don't think I did it justice, but welcome.
Thank you so much. Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Yeah. So let's talk about you for a minute. You know, you're an immigrant. Tell us the story.
Absolutely. So I was born in the Middle East, actually in Kuwait, but my family's from Syria and the UK. So I spent most of my childhood living in the Middle East. And at one point, my parents that were both working for large corporations decided they wanted to quit their jobs and become entrepreneurs. And we actually tried to become, they tried to be entrepreneurs in Syria, but it didn't work out. And so we were able to come over to the US on an investment visa, and they were able to start their first businesses in Houston, Texas. And so I grew up watching them with their businesses. Neither of my parents had been to college before. The companies that they were running were, my mom was doing like a carpet cleaning business. My dad was selling things on eBay. And then they had this vending machine business. So I would spend my summers putting keychains in those little plastic bubbles that go with the quarter machines, and then helping them count quarters and things like that. So I definitely grew up, watching them be entrepreneurs and having that entrepreneurial spirit. And my mom, always pushed me to get education, as, a lot of immigrant parents do. She never got a chance to finish college, so she really wanted me to go for it and to go for grad school as well. And so, I went to do my MBA at the business school at the University of Texas at Austin. And that's actually where I met my business partners and where we started BeatBox. So definitely a great, story for me, learning from them. And, I actually did this 23andMe thing, and I was looking at my maternal line. And my mom is apparently the first woman from her line in 16,000 years to leave Damascus, Syria. And so That is the genes that I come from. My mom is such a firecracker and an entrepreneur herself, and she can't sit still. And so that's what I watched my whole life. And so, kind of became natural that I would be attracted to starting companies. So,
and for people that don't have companies, the takeaway here is that it isn't something you turn on and then you turn off, right? I mean, even if you're that incredibly chilled out Zen founder, you're still thinking about it. You're still like, even when you're, at a higher level in your company, or you're thinking about strategy, but, you're talking to people, you're partnering on things, and there's so much going on, right? And so learning that as a child or as a young teenager, even from your parents, I'm sure kind of prepared you for that, always on journey.
Definitely a lifestyle for sure, right? And it just kind of blends into your home life and your family, and as well as, your friends and things like that. So it's just all kind of one life, which I love that about being an entrepreneur. I can be myself all day long. I don't have to kind of switch off and on.
Yeah, I mean, and never mind being a chameleon. It's almost like, people that have, and no knock to anybody, but people that have very traditional jobs where you have to almost assume a persona, and especially older school companies, right? You got a persona, and then you go home and, you put on your Jimmy Buffett hat, and then you're a totally different person. So yeah, that's amazing. Now,
I think the working from home revolution may be pushing that differently, maybe in the future. We'll see.
We can only hope, right? American enterprise is basically driven by small businesses. So the more small businesses, in my mind, the better. I would every day rather pick an underdog or someone that I know where those dollars are going, rather than a huge company. So even with great products, I think there are some of us that would rather even if I have to compromise, which you don't usually have to, but I'll even do that. Now, and speaking of big companies in your space, right? Your space is dominated, right, by the Molsons and the Anheuser-Busch's and the Millers and the Diageos of that world. What's that like? Being you in that world?
Oh gosh, it's so interesting. It's a very unique industry, especially in the U.S., right? Because we have the 3-tier law. And so we're very sort of regulated and limited with all the levers we can pull as a brand. And so, I can tell the whole founder story of how we got BeatBox started and everything too. But in general, it's a very difficult industry, and we've had to leverage some pretty out of the box and from other industry strategies to be successful in this space and kind of punch above our weight class as a brand, because you're exactly right. We're out there competing with the Anheuser-Busch's, the Molson Coors, the Diageos, global, multi-billion-dollar corporations that their marketing budget for one event might be the same marketing budget from our whole year, right? So how do we actually get the attention from consumers, get shelf space? How do we get that demand going? And that's been the story of building this company over the past 10 years now, almost, that we've been just learning and pivoting along the way. And we sort of relaunched this version of the company about 3 years ago, and have had a lot of success since then and a lot of growth. And so, I think it's one of those situations where, people saw us perhaps on Shark Tank or something like that. And now we're finally getting more distribution. And, hopefully next year it'll be on a whole nother level as well. And so we're just trying to rise to the occasion of this moment. And yeah, I can definitely talk more about some of those strategies when we get into it.
It's super cool. I I can remember being in India a few years ago in a car, and there'd been some drinking involved. And one of my friends was talking about, I think it was dating somebody, and they brought up the fact that there was this sort of like, fighting below your weight class. And they were laughing at me because there's a very famous incident in my young teen years where someone beat the shit out of me, like literally bit. But I got so much cred from it because I was the one that picked the fight. And the guy was huge. He was huge, big bulging muscles. I was like 15 years old, and I like punched him. I got one punch in, but like, it's like there is something right about that punching above your weight class. And in your journey, I'm sorry, I had to tell that story with Arshad moment, but it made me think of. But it's interesting because you when you score the punch, sometimes it doesn't matter what impact you have long term because you've made a short term impact. They know you're there. Other people have seen what you've done, and there's a whole, I feel, community to be gained from people that want to support innovation. They want to support, the company and the values you are.
Right.
How what's that been like as far as like what are the values of the company? If just a couple of things you could tell us.
Yeah, absolutely. So we have adopted. We all read the book Ray Dalio's Principles. Have you heard of Principles before?
I haven't.
It's a great book. But yeah, all of us founders kind of came together as well with our team and kind of came up with our future-proof values. The number one thing that we have is all of our team, everybody on the team has equity. And so part of that is being, we renamed our company Future Proof from BeatBox Beverages. And part of that is being the future of the alcohol industry that we want to see. So future proof, meaning future of the alcohol industry. And so, for example, right now we're in application for B Corp. We're advocating for sustainability, for diversity and leadership, and also for, spreading the wealth. And so part of that is we give everybody on the team equity. So our first value is we think like owners because we all are owners. And so we ask a lot from our team. We're one of the fastest growing companies in alcohol beverage right now. And so, we want them to take ownership in their areas and be entrepreneurs in their own areas. And so that's a big ethos for us. And the second one is we are the change we wish to see in the alcohol industry. And the third one is we're a solution for our wholesale and retail partners. In alcohol beverage, you have an end customer, but before you get there, you really have to win your channel partners. I can't just sell directly to anybody I want online, right? So I have to go through these chains. I have to go through wholesalers. By law, I have to. So, we don't win in this business unless we are a complete B2B solution for those partners as well. And so that was a lot of how we pivoted our business model over the years is how can we deliver the most profit to our partners than anyone else in their portfolio? How can we, be the best customer service wise when we're working with them? Those kinds of things. So that's a value we have. The fourth one is we're kind even when we're tough, even when it's tough. We have a no asshole policy here at Future Proof Brands, and that's just part of something that me and my founders wanted to implement because you get one life, and we didn't want anybody on the team to dread going to work because there was somebody that was going to be an asshole, right? So, that's something that we always emphasize with the team, and we do enforce it. We've had to let people go that did not fit into that.
I love it.
Number 5, we know there's always a solution. Ever since I saw the Firefest documentary, I feel a little bit sensitive about this one because I don't know if you saw any of those documentaries about Firefest, the music festival.
Yeah. For sure. Yeah. What's the rapper that's involved with that? I forget his name now. Yeah, and the promoter. Got it. Yes, I do know the story.
And so, the founder the whole time was like, there's a solution, so that kind of like gave me a weird tinge on this value. But I mean, ultimately, we know there's always a solution. Mark Cuban, when he came in as a partner, is always like, every no gets you closer to yes. Like, figure out in your sales process, in your operations process, like, be that lean startup mentality. And when you fail, learn from it, improve the process, go at it again and try again. So we know there's always a solution as our value. And then the sixth one, most importantly, we know how to have fun. Because BeatBox Beverages primarily was created to bring people together and have fun. Having an awesome business is part of that. And, the whole point is fun. So that's just a big value for us too. So, every interview we do, we always ask people, how do you have fun? What does fun mean to you? And, we try and live the brand, So
it's critical. It's critical. I mean, and that's really like your brand or organizational genetics have fun. I mean, you guys were doing your MBAs, you were young students, and decided to do something huge and badass. And so, yeah, fun has got to be at the core. And even the packaging. Talk about the packaging a little bit, because the packaging is so unique, and it's just it's definitely like it makes an impression.
Right. So when we first started the company, we were actually looking at bag-in-box boxed wine. Because this was back in 2010, 2011. And we saw boxed wine at every party, every tailgate, floating the river. But, people were drinking these wine brands. No one actually liked the wine. They were just drinking it because it was convenient, easy to share, affordable, things like that. And so we said, what if we took this format of bag-in-box and created the millennial version of this, which would be, flavors and bright colors. And, we were all big music nerds, music festival nerds. I was a college radio DJ at the time. I had an electronic music specialty show called Disco Jorts. So that was what was going on in my life, right? When you've got a big music collection there in the back too. So I guess you must be a DJ as well.
Yes, I do. I'm like a lifestyle DJ. I DJ for my own lifestyle and my friends when I want to.
Yeah, exactly.
No pressure.
pools, stuff like that. Road trips. If you need me, I'll be there.
Yeah, that's awesome. Exactly. That's it.
But yeah, like, huge music fans. And so we wanted to create a brand that was centered around music. So the original packaging is actually looked like a radio. And that, our first brand that we wanted to launch with was BeatBox Beverages. And it was just a boombox. And we said, hey, music is the center of the party. So we want us to be, bringing people together, just like music brings people together. So the first packaging was all very like kind of literal boombox, like radio, style. And it was super fun and got us a lot of attention. That's the box that's on Shark Tank with the neon colors and everything. And then when we pivoted our business model, we realized we needed to go to something that was more of like a trial size so people could just try the product, because that bag and box was 7 bottles of wine in one unit. So, I mean, it was a commitment just for one product, right? So when we launched single serve, we considered boxes, cans, cartons, pouches, like those Capri Sun kind of pouches. We considered, all different options, and sustainability being something that was really important to us. That was a consideration as well. And we love Tetra Pak because it's resealable, and it's also the most eco-friendly beverage container out there. And, people are kind of used to it from, some of the other box wine brands that have a Tetra Pak in wine as well. So we're just kind of leaning in on that. So, that's why we picked Tetra Pak. And it's been a great relationship with them over the past several years, trying to work with them to, make the packaging even more sustainable, more recyclable, use less fossil fuels and things like that. So we've been working with them on that, and we love the format. It's differentiated in a sea of cans and a global aluminum shortage. We are not hating our packaging whatsoever. So.
That's amazing. I mean, I want to just say that I love the fact that your second value, or the second part of your vision, is to be the change you wish to see, and then you got kindness in there. And I mean, you can see it in action. And it's like you got genetics that work within a brand that way. There's like a whole trend, or let's hope it's a movement of like brands that are doing that. And I think there's a beautiful connection, right? It's an emotional connection, because I could, I don't care. I could think of like, let's say we talk about Anheuser-Busch. Like, well, I got no connection with them. They got to put damn horses and spend millions of dollars to channel a connection to them, when I can just be connected to a brand because of its values beyond just providing jobs. Not that jobs aren't important, right? So right. I love it that that probably makes a lot of decisions, having those values. Like, we talked about even into the packaging, the values in the packaging.
Right. So and we are actually in the certification process now for B Corp. And so, I don't think any kind of certification or anything we have right now is completely perfect. Just like I don't think, Tetra Pak is perfect. We always want to be pushing everything forward. But yes, I absolutely hope and love for it to be a trend, and taking action in that as a business leader. Just kind of my history with it. So climate crisis has always been my number one cause, even as a teenager till now. I think just being from Middle East and, the Syrian civil war and all of that personal experience directly related to climate crisis, and just kind of, nobody really taking it seriously, and maybe nobody really will if they can always have, amazing air conditioning and everything else. Right. But in Syria, where I used to live, you don't have power probably half the day. And so you feel it. And so it's something that's always been very top of mind for me. And so, I love the fact that we had BeatBox and a bag and box, and it was carbon efficient, and that we moved to Tetra Pak. But, in the 2016 election happened, I felt like I really needed to do a lot more to advocate for the climate. And so, I was really kind of like waking up in the middle of the night, freaking out about it kind of thing. And so I actually got together over the next couple of years with some other entrepreneurs here in Austin, and started a chapter of a national nonprofit called the Naturally Network. So we have Naturally Austin. And the whole point of this organization is to advocate for responsible entrepreneurship, responsible business practices in the natural products industry. So food, beverage, consumer brands, even soaps, even cleaning products, anything that you could buy in a grocery store, or, even all these online brands that are launching just product companies. We all make stuff. And so we are part of the problem, essentially, right? Until we have perfect packaging solutions and perfect energy solutions, all of us making stuff are part of the problem. And so, I think just joining hands as an industry and saying, what can we do? And so there's things like the Climate Collaborative, where, Future Proof was one of 400 companies that signed a document to President Biden advocating, saying, hey, we're here as business leaders wanting you to make policy change so that we can make business changes to respond. But right now, it's hard for us to manage our businesses not knowing what the policy is going to be. Let's go for an aggressive policy and let's put it out there so that business leaders can go for it too, So that was one thing we did. Through Naturally Austin, we've launched things like the Mo Track, which is an accelerator primarily for minority founders of product companies. So, I'm an immigrant. I have a fantastic life story where my parents were able to come to Texas, and I was able to go to the University of Texas at Austin, which is one of the best MBAs in entrepreneurship you can get in the whole country. And through that community, I met my distributor and my co-founders and started my company and got investors and things like that. That's not necessarily accessible. Going on Shark Tank, like I am the luckiest human in the planet of Earth. Like, I'm from Damascus, Syria, and I'm living this life now in Austin, Texas, right? Like the number one city or whatever that everybody's moving to. So I just feel like I'm the luckiest person. So how can I work with people that are also in my industry to move it forward? And so, yeah, we've got a program for minority founders. It should be easier for people. You shouldn't have to be the luckiest person in the world to have a successful company if that's what you want to do. If you don't have rich friends and family, how are you going to get investment? We're working on an angel network matching program for companies that are engaged. But that's all kind of stuff I don't ever talk about with BeatBox. It's just stuff we're doing behind the scenes, because if you're an able-bodied adult that is working right now, you should be doing things to help the next generation, because the generation before us kind of put us in the spot. And so it's our job to do this now, And we talk about BeatBox being eco-friendly and things like that, but there's so much more that we're doing as executives and as business leaders that are kind of like, we only talk about in like these kind of podcasts and stuff, because I think it's important for other business leaders to hear about what people are doing and know that we want to join hands and do it together.
That's amazing. How does that translate, that sort of values-driven approach, all the stuff that you've mentioned, how does that translate into your social media? Like it's because what I take away from all of this is that, tremendous vision, significant investment in values, and like sort of a not so quiet but not screaming optimism, for the future. I mean, even the company, the name of the company is about that kind of like rugged resilience and approach. How does that translate into social?
Well, I mean, that's our approach as a company. BeatBox is one of our brands, right? We kind of have a vision that one day we'll have many brands and BeatBox will be one of them. And right now it's the only thing we're working on and we're super focused on it. But the vision for BeatBox always has been bringing people together around music, but around fun primarily. And that's it. We call it togetherness, right? That is the essence of BeatBox, is togetherness. And so, the social media definitely reflects that. It's all about fun and everything else. What I kind of want is like when people are enjoying alcohol recreationally with all of their friends, maybe that's not the time that I want them to be super stressed out about the climate crisis and equity issues and all that stuff, right? So if we can just take care of that for them, it takes the burden off the consumer to worry about these things. If they can say, hey, I'm putting, the biggest vote I have is my dollar. So if I can put my dollar into companies that are doing the work, then I can just enjoy my weekend and have a good vibes and take it easy, and that's what I want. I don't want consumers to think they should be doing all of this. All of us as business leaders have so much more impact. Like, let's go,
Yeah. It's, beyond all the like having to think about all these kind of like weighty matters, right? It's like, hey, I can buy this product. I know it's from a cool company. It's a great product. I'm going to enjoy it recreationally, as you said, but I'm going to buy some redemption for my mind too, right? Because it's
and I think we're working on it. A big part of it for me too is I would like us to do a lot more before we talk about it for consumers. I want to talk a lot about it with peers so that we can get moving together. But we're not a B Corp yet, but when we get certified, we're going to talk about it in a big way. Right now, I think the most important things that we talk about are being carbon efficient and then, being plastic neutral. That's something that we do. All of the weight of plastic that we put into the world as a company, we remove from nature through like waste picking projects in India and other kind of places. So that's one thing we, put on our website and our social and everything else. But other than that, it's just supporting, artists of color in our, events and social media stuff and, making sure we have diverse representation of people in our social media and things like that. So when you're asking about social media and reflecting the values, some of that stuff might be more subtly in there, but it's all about the good vibes when we're talking to our customers. So
yeah. Now, let's talk about the music and how the music is such a critical part, right? I was having a conversation with Diana Freich from this brand, consumer package brand consultancy, Retail Voodoo, and because you're seeing more brands, using music as not just maybe not with the centrality that you're using it, but they're like Baria's doing playlists that are coincidentally the same time as the amount of time it takes to boil the pasta. Nike does, of course. Nike's the obvious extension, but there's other brands too. How do you do playlists, or you support? I think you said you support like DJs and musicians and stuff like that.
Yeah, so we have a lot of different things that we do now and things that we've done over the years. When we first launched the company back in 2013, I think we had like an iPhone app with playlists from up and coming DJs and things like that, but it's not a huge part of our marketing strategy today, but we do, have investors that are part of the brand that are music artists. We do have events and things like that where we can help pick talent. So that's part of where we can have an impact on, picking people that are up and coming, picking diverse talent, things like that. And in terms of working with music festivals, most alcohol beverage brands traditionally will build their brand on premise, right? So bars, restaurants, getting on menus, that's usually how a lot of people get introduced to brands. For us, music festivals are our entire pretty much on-premise strategy because it's the perfect place. You're with all your friends, you're enjoying music that you love. And, BeatBox is great in those environments. It's perfect for the occasion. It's resealable. You can dance with it without spilling it everywhere. It's really perfect for those environments. And so usually when we go into a music festival, we outsell every other brand that's there and, usually sell out. And so that's been our experience, just getting it out there. And a lot of people have tried our product and then go home and, try and find it in their stores. So that's kind of how we've been building the brand. Of course, when the pandemic hit, every single one of our events last year got canceled. And so we had to take a completely different approach. But, my marketing team, to their credit, did a complete 180 and was able to have a completely digital strategy for the year. We threw a virtual music festival, to raise money for ACLU during the summer. But, some of the other things we did were just to work with some of our artists that were already doing like virtual festivals or smaller events and things like that, and kind of meeting them where they're at. And then also trying out new channels on social media and engaging with people about music and dancing and things like that on social media. And you might have seen, we just rolled out a new campaign with a famous influencer from TikTok, Dogface 208. So we just launched a Cranberry Dreams flavor with him. And, he's a perfect fit because he's always dancing and jamming to different music from today, from music that we would be having in our record collections. And so we can't wait for him to come to, a bunch of our music festivals that are now starting up again, and dance with fans. And, just kind of, he's just like a perfect, authentic brand partner for us, because he has that good vibes energy that we're trying to put out there, like to a T. So we just are super excited about this new campaign.
That's amazing. I really congratulate you on that. Before we get to the last two questions, I just want to thank everyone for listening to Firebelly's social show. And I never actually remember to ask this, but if you love it, like it, follow it, share it. And tell us who you want us to interview. We've got some really cool things coming up. At Firebelly, we make brands more likable and profitable through social media. That's all we do. 100% social all the time. Firebellymarketing.com. So, Amy, I want to just, before we go any further, how can people find BeatBox? How can people find Future Proof and you?
Yeah, so beatboxbeverages.com to find BeatBox and store locators. We also have online ordering backup, which is awesome. So people can check out the product there. And then, of course, we're on Instagram and Twitter and TikTok and Facebook and all the places. So BeatBox Beverages or BeatBox Bevs, depending on the platform. And then for me, if anybody wants to chat with me, I'm pretty active on LinkedIn, Aimy Steadman, and futureprf.com is our corporate website that has more about our environmental, social, governance kind of things that we do. Whereas BeatBox is definitely more consumer. Keep in touch.
Awesome. That's really great. Now, listen, this may be the most important question. No pressure here, okay? What are you listening to these days? What music or which artist or song are you in love with? What's on your Spotify?
Let's open it up, because I used to just make one playlist a month, so that I can kind of, keep track of what I've been listening to over time, But my boyfriend and I are excited that record stores are back open again.
Yes.
Because they have been, online only for the longest time. So one of our favorite things is to go to record stores and look for stuff that maybe wouldn't be on Spotify. Like we like a lot of island music, like, Mento and Goomba, and reggae music and that kind of stuff. And so I love looking for records for that. But on my Spotify, let's see what's going on here. So there's another genre that you should definitely listen to if you want some good pool party sort of Sunday weekend vibes. It's called Chicha. It is the Peruvian surf rock genre. It is a great genre. There's an Austin group called Money Chicha that is great. So check that out.
CHE.
Yeah, CHICHA. Chicha.
I got it. Yeah, that's super cool. I will definitely.
And then, of course, electronic music. My business partners are obsessed with Above and Beyond, the EDM, group, DJ group, and so we've been listening to a lot of Above and Beyond this summer.
Well, you should check out one of my friends put out a record, Jeb Banner, and it's called the artist is Wes Rutenberg. It's We Control the Weather. Oh man, and one of my favorite songs this year is Bully from there. But that's really great. And isn't Austin Wes Rutenberg? That's V.
I know.
You should check it out.
All right, we'll check that out.
Yeah, and isn't Cigarettes After Sex from Austin? The band Cigarettes After Sex?
I don't know, actually.
Interesting. Well, listen, thank you so much. This has been great. You've given me music. You've shared some great ideas. You're so generous with your time. Thank you so much.
Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure, Amy, and I hope we have you back again sometime. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much. Appreciate it.
Thanks for listening to the Firebelly Social Show. We'll see you again next time, and be sure to click subscribe to get future episodes.